Right then, it is about time that I did a roundup of the Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100 mile, I guess. It's 10 days since the race, and yeah, it's gone quite quick actually. Sun is shining in North Wales. For anyone that is interested, these are the mountain bike trails that you sometimes see on my Instagram and stuff. Yeah, I live over there, so I run up here into the woods, and I've got miles of trails to play with, whether I'm running or now I'm doing a bit of gravel biking, because it's still recovery time, even though the race didn't go as planned, which some of you will know, some of you won't care, but I've got to kind of finish off the series of recce videos and training videos that I did on here. It might be useful for myself to look back on when I hopefully go back next year. So we will start at the start of the day. Rich Lazenby, experienced ultra runner himself, has got a van that he picked me up in, which was a godsend. Yeah, it allowed, there was no kind of stress family wise or anything like that. And yeah, Rich picked me up nice and early, no issues there, got to registration, plenty of time, found some parking, which I know everyone was worried about, but if you were in the 100 mile, it wasn't really an issue at all. The sun was out, we knew it was going to be warm, but yeah, it was a lot sunnier and brighter by the time we got to Llanberis than even when we left my house, which is about 50 minutes away, something like that. So it was a bit of a surprise, and anyone that went to that race will know the day before, weather-wise, was not great. I was taking my daughter, who's 7, to her football on a Thursday evening, and we were driving through hailstone and the window wipers were on full blast. And it's only when we got to football it eased off a bit, but yeah, I was kind of worried, thinking, is this weather forecast right? There's nothing worse for me personally than warm and wet, but yeah, it turned out to be just warm. And again, here we are. Some mountain bike action for you. I knew it was going to be warm from the start. I adjusted my effort up the first climb, which was Snowdon, Llanberis Path. Again, lots of you will have done it, but yeah, to give you an idea, my heart rate was through the roof, and I got to the top, but the Fingerstone, about 15 minutes behind my original schedule, and that was on purpose really. I just took it very easy, and I was a lot further down in the field than I wanted to be, and I had some good chats with people on the way up, but I was just mindful of the fact that it's 100 miles, I'll make up time, I'm good at going downhill, and yeah, that proved to be the case. So when I went down towards Penna Pass, towards the first checkpoint, I made up a lot of ground there, felt very easy running downhill, but yeah, my body temperature was just quite warm already. And then the next climb to Glyderfawr was again, it was still easy because I was fresh, but I was very warm and I was very conscious of it. I got to the first support point where Rich was, way behind schedule. I mean, I don't even know, way over an hour behind schedule. What I've chosen to do is when you go into the Gliders, it was under shade, so I thought, right, I'll cool down now. And I essentially walked down Devil's Kitchen and took it very easy. Maybe I should have just pushed on a bit, because yeah, without kind of spoiling everything, I blew up anyway on the second day in the heat. So maybe I should have took a risk early on and made some more ground, but I was happy with that. Since I've had a couple of bouts of COVID, which is a while ago now, I've just found it really frustrating almost, in the fact that I can't regulate my body's temperature as easy. I get hot very quick and I get cold very quick, and that was a distinct kind of what would you call it, effect left over from COVID. So yeah, won't bang on too much about that. I mean, it was hot for everyone. There were people that probably got as hot as me and still finished. So through the night things got a lot easier for me in terms of the effort in the cooler temperatures. Funny enough, I did start to cool down quite a lot, and I had to stick some layers on going up to Shabod, which was, yeah, probably going up towards 11 p.m. or midnight. So yeah, way behind schedule, but I was feeling better. That drop down off Shabod, I probably could have done a bit quicker. I stuck with a few people, I think it was Sam, who we've spoken to on Instagram and stuff, and just it made it easier being in a bit of a group. Then we moved through to Guastanadas. Anyway, the next support point where Rich could pick me up, and he was there with the van about 500 metres from the checkpoint, ready for anything I needed. Again, I was feeling okay. I took a bit of a longer sit down here, and I planned to have some hot food, but they'd run out of soup. And I know there's been some people reporting back to me, more so in the 100k and the 50k, that some things were running out. Maybe water was rationed, I don't know, because I can't comment. All I can say is, from my point of view, in the 100 mile, I had a great experience at every checkpoint, every single marshal, every single volunteer, every single medic. And that was the same up until the point where I dropped out, eventually at Bev Gellet. So yeah, I guess everyone's experience is their own personal experience, and they will have views on that. But for me personally, the 100 mile obviously felt like a very separate race because it was the day before and everything was well organised. And yeah, the fact that there wasn't any hot soup at a checkpoint is not a problem, especially if you're planning on moving 100 miles through the mountains. Should have some self-reliance. Plus the fact Rich got my bag out of the checkpoint and he'd ran up to the checkpoint, and it was probably my favourite part of the race, if I'm honest. He opened the bag, big checkpoint sport crap bag that he had for me, with all my food and spare kit and stuff in, and one of my powders had exploded everywhere. It looked, yeah, it looked like we'd just been done at customs at Colombia or something. Literally, Rich had powder all over his nose, I think. So yeah, it was just a bit of talc powder. Unfortunately, maybe that would have kicked me on a bit if it was some Colombian marching powder, but yeah, we pushed on through the night. Where was next? Blaenau Ffestiniog. Had a good section through the night up to Blaenau Ffestiniog, if I'm honest, and I was feeling good, but I was feeling very tired. I think from the heat, which just started to make me more tired than usual after that amount of time. And I grabbed 15 minutes in the van while Rich again kindly made me a cup of tea and a pot noodle. Climbed up Cnicht, just heating up a little bit, but again climbed okay, considering I've been on the go over 20 hours I think by then. Met the mountain sport at the top. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he'd been following me as well, which was a nice surprise. And that perked me up a little bit actually, and I ran off the top of Cnicht. Again, just looking forward to get to the next checkpoint. Then after Cnicht, when it should be quite good running on a day like it was, up until the point where it gets really boggy, and then you just have to kind of do your best with it. It is boggy at any time of year, but I guess the sunshine is better than wind and rain, unless you're trying to run 100 miles, and I'd already overheated the day before. So that was the first point where I started having a few dizzy spells. I'd run dry, had no water left, moving quite slow. And then some of the tricky descents down there, my eyes were closing quite fast. Yeah, so I just knew that, well, I knew I wasn't in a great place, but I just had to make it to the next checkpoint, move quite slowly. Unfortunately at that point I kind of stumbled a few times when I shouldn't have, walloped my ankle, which wasn't serious, but you know when you get a big deep bruise on your ankle bone, just caused pressure that I didn't need at that point. And then your motivation and your willpower starts to drain quite fast, because you start doing some mental maths. How quickly am I moving? Well, not very. My ankle is very painful. I've got no water, blah blah blah. Yeah, poor me. Get me to the checkpoint. When I got to the checkpoint, I ran down the lane more in desperation. So my running legs were absolutely fine, if I'm honest, apart from the sore ankle. But my brain and my head was all over the place. I was weaving my way down the lane, and then I remember one of the volunteers saying I looked good for a 100-mile runner, but I was putting a brave face on it, if I'm honest. I sat down, I drank lots of fluids and ate a cheese butty, I think, but I was almost dreading the next section, which is the easiest section. Because although I'd ran into that camp, leaving, it was like the batteries had been taken out of me and my head started to pound, and that was just this, well, the demise of my race, really. I didn't have the mental resilience this time to push on and death march it for a 45-hour finish maybe. So I'm fine with that, if I'm honest. I did drop out of bed gullet. I was not feeling great at all, and I hadn't been for hours, and my ankle was sore, and it was just a decision I made. And you kind of make these decisions and you're like, right, I'm letting Rich down, what's he gonna think, and all that kind of stuff at first. But yeah, I did think about pushing on and claiming a 45-hour plus finish. Maybe I'd have picked it up, but yeah, it wasn't getting any cooler, put it that way. The fact that from Sunday to Wednesday I was pretty much sofa bound. Again, my head was just fried still, and I was eating okay, but it must have been the leftover effects of dehydration. It was my stomach and my insides were absolutely blown. Couldn't get off the sofa for days. Had to put back my coaching work, which I never enjoy doing, but yeah, I couldn't concentrate on any task. So it was full on heat exhaustion. I wouldn't say it was heat stroke. Didn't end up in hospital or anything. So yeah, I've been back running for a week now. Started easy last week and I've started training again this week. We've got the Lakeland 50 coming up now in 10 weeks with Montaigne. I'm doing that with Montaigne, so I've jumped into that, which is good, I think. It's the UTS, the way my race went didn't really represent where I was at in fitness, I don't think. I've kind of gone through all the decisions I made, put them in a box, and yeah, now my legs are coming back to life. I feel pretty fit and I feel pretty strong, and I've got no injuries, so I'm quite happy that in 10 weeks I'll have a better race at Lakeland 50, and then I'm racing again in August, a big mountain race in France. So yeah, I'm happy with where I'm at, and I thanks everyone who came up to me or messaged me about the recce's. That it helped, I think. The majority of people seem to have found them useful. So yeah, that is one good thing that came out of me entering the race, and fingers crossed I'll get the opportunity to go back again and try, because yeah, that is definitely one that I need to tick off now. Sometimes I can DNF and leave it, yeah, I'm not too bothered, but this one, it's in my kind of own territory, needs to be done. So we will see you next year at the UTS 100 mile.